Is he truly donning that attire for court? A laugh erupted from the benches, echoing through the air. The tattered uniform, its shoulders bearing the weight of countless memories, and the beret, once vibrant now a shadow of its former glory. The veteran strides with quiet resolve past the disdainful stares, yet as he pushes open the courtroom door, a wave of reverence sweeps through the room, and all rise in unison, not due to protocol, but rather in light of a startling truth that is on the verge of being unveiled. Welcome to Great Man, where possibilities unfold before your very eyes. Let us delve into the depths of truth and reveal the hidden realities that lie beneath the surface. At the age of 76, Edward Rowe, a valiant veteran of the Vietnam War, resided in solitude within a modest apartment nestled at the very end of Pine Street. Each dawn he meticulously polished his weathered military boots until they shone with a fierce brilliance, proudly displayed the American flag outside his door, and strode to Memorial Park, gathering the remnants of neglect left by thoughtless visitors. His routine remained steadfast, unwavering against the sweltering embrace of summer or the biting chill of winter's snow. It persisted through festive celebrations and the agonizing days when arthritis turned each step into a battle. Countless townsfolk whispered of the eccentric old man, a relic of bygone days forever ensnared in the echoes of history. Children spun tales of wonder and intrigue about him. From the other side of the street, the teenagers unleashed their scorn upon his every move, their laughter echoing like a haunting melody in the air. "Are we battling unseen foes, sir?" They would erupt in laughter. Half a century has passed since the echoes of war faded into silence. As he strode by, others erupted with sounds reminiscent of thunderous explosions. The neighbors averted their gazes as he strolled past, not out of animosity, but rather from an unsettling sense of unease. His serene dignity evoked memories they longed to leave behind. Amidst the silence that enveloped him, the sole figure who reached out with any semblance of recognition was Mrs. Gloria from the corner store, a woman marked by the profound sorrow of having lost a grandson in the distant land of Afghanistan. Edward, unyielding in the face of scorn, chose silence as his ally, steadfastly pursuing the path of righteousness. He remained silent, offering no complaints, nor revealing the reason he continued to don his dog tags beneath the fabric of his civilian attire. On a fateful Tuesday morning, he found himself summoned to stand as a witness in a gripping criminal case where a young black man, Isaiah Jefferson, faced grave charges of assaulting a police officer amidst what the prosecution portrayed as a mere routine intervention. None could fathom the reason behind the summons of the aged veteran to the stand, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. As the first light of dawn crept into the sky, Edward stirred from his slumber, awakening with a sense of urgency that filled the air with anticipation. With meticulous care, he liberated his dress uniform from its shroud of protective plastic, the jacket bearing the weight of battles fought stained with the indelible memories of his comrades' blood. The uniform draped more loosely than it ever had before, yet Edward held his head high as he adorned himself. With fingers that trembled not from fear, but from the relentless grip of neuropathy that had haunted him since the war, he affixed his medals with a poignant reverence. Finally, the worn beret was placed with meticulous precision, adhering to the exact angle dictated by regulations. As he stepped into the courthouse lobby, a ripple of laughter erupted from a group of young lawyers, their snickers echoing through the air. A nearby security guard leaned in, his voice dripping with mockery, declaring, "This guy must be lost, probably thinks he's at a Veterans Day parade." An attorney sauntered by, whispering with a hint of intrigue, "Halloween has arrived ahead of schedule this year." Edward absorbed every whisper, every secret, every echo that danced through the air. His weathered hands quivered ever so slightly, yet his gaze held steadfastly ahead. Dignity was not merely a term in his lexicon, it was the very essence of his being. It stood as the sole remnant for some of his brothers in their final moments, a haunting echo of what once was. With a determined flick of his beret, he straightened his spine, defying the grip of arthritic pain, and strode purposefully toward Courtroom 3. With each step, he took the eyes of the crowd were drawn to him, their gazes lingering in awe. Several individuals captured the moment with their cameras. A woman clutched her child tightly, as though the very essence of his military service could leap forth and envelop them both. Edward strode into the courtroom, his silence deafening his gaze, averted from all around him. Within the confines of his pocket lay a promise, a whisper from decades past, cherished solely by him, a secret that time had forgotten. Have you ever witnessed the cruel sting of disrespect aimed at someone solely for their appearance? Depart? Verdict. Once the subject of ridicule, some individuals now stand poised to receive society's resounding applause. If you hold the conviction that these tales deserve to be shared, then remain by our side. In the hushed atmosphere of the courtroom, murmurs swirled like shadows, each one laden with intrigue. What ties him to this unfolding drama? Edward lingered in the back row, enveloped in solitude. His posture stood resolute and unwavering, a testament to discipline, even upon the unforgiving bench that sought to undermine his composure. The defendant, Isaiah Jefferson, a mere 24 years of age, with his close-cropped hair and weary eyes that spoke volumes, occupied his place at the defense table. He averted his gaze from Edward, yet his shoulders tightened at the very moment the old man stepped inside. The prosecutor, a woman clad in sharp attire and exuding an air of poise, boldly proclaimed that the defendant had assaulted Officer Connor Brennan, igniting chaos amidst a rightful police intervention. The evidence stands undeniable, a beacon of truth illuminating the shadows of doubt. With a swift click, she navigated through the slides, unveiling Isaiah's past, a speeding ticket, and a 9th-grade suspension details, seemingly trivial, yet crafted to cast him in the shadow of a miscreant. The judge appeared disinterested, glancing at his watch from time to time, yet another straightforward case in a system churning through hundreds each month. Isaiah's public defender, burdened by the weight of 47 active cases, had scarcely exchanged a word with his client prior to the hearing. His defense appeared to be nothing more than a mere formality, lacking any genuine effort or conviction. Yet in a stunning turn of events, as the prosecution concluded its case, the defender adjusted his tie with a flourish and summoned an unforeseen witness to the stand. The court summons Mr. Edward Rowe, the esteemed former commander of Bravo Company, 25th Infantry Division. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation. The judge's gaze shot upward, a flicker of surprise crossing his features, as though an echo from a distant past had just whispered a name into the air. As Edward rose to his feet, an extraordinary event unfolded before him. Every uniformed guard in the courtroom sprang to attention, their backs impeccably, straight chins elevated with unwavering pride. One guard, Sergeant Ramon, as indicated by his nameplate, had once been the trainee of Edward years prior. His visage illuminated with instant recognition, a profound respect radiating from his very being. A hushed murmur swept through the gallery, echoing like a secret longing to be heard. Who is this enigmatic figure? Edward approached the witness stand, each step measured and purposeful, as if the weight of the moment hung heavily in the air. His shoes, gleaming with a mirror-like brilliance, clicked sharply against the floor, the solitary sound echoing in the abruptly hushed room. Upon taking the oath, Edward's voice emerged, aged yet resolute, echoing with the weight of his steadfast beliefs. On that fateful Tuesday, April 15th, at precisely 2:43 p.m., I found myself a witness to the unfolding drama of the entire incident. Isaiah Jefferson stands innocent of any assault. He boldly stepped in as Officer Brennan unleashed excessive force upon a homeless veteran who was tragically caught in the throes of a seizure. With a flourish, the defense attorney unveiled a video captured by a coffee shop's security camera, positioned at an angle that the prosecution had conveniently overlooked, illuminating the truth of Edward's account with undeniable clarity. The atmosphere in the courtroom transformed from a cloud of skeptical indifference to a breathtaking wave of disbelief. The prosecutor, in a flurry of urgency, exclaimed, "Your Honor, this witness only appeared on our radar just yesterday." We cast doubt upon his reliability and mental sharpness, particularly in light of his advanced years. Edward stood resolute, unyielding, in the face of the insult. His gaze held firm and unwavering. The judge leaned forward, his glasses slipping from his grasp. "Mr. Rowe," he inquired, "what compelling reasons can you provide for the court to regard your testimony as trustworthy?" With a flourish, Edward delved into his breast pocket, retrieving a small, leather-bound notebook that seemed to hold the weight of untold stories. "For 53 long years I have meticulously chronicled every injustice that has crossed my path, Your Honor. The moment has arrived, the date, the hour, the very place where it all unfolds. I stood witness as Officer Brennan delivered a blow to the homeless man, the glint of his medical alert bracelet unmistakably shining in the light. I stood witness as Isaiah positioned himself between them, his hands remaining still, yet his voice resonated with undeniable authority." The courtroom fell into a profound hush. Even the familiar rustle of papers came to an abrupt halt. "And why," the judge pressed on, now completely captivated, "would you step forward for this young man whom you seemingly do not know?" Edward's gaze locked onto Isaiah's for the very first moment. Across the room, their eyes locked in a gaze brimming with unvoiced history, a connection that felt as if it transcended the very fabric of time itself. "I possess a deeper understanding of him than the majority, Your Honor," Edward pressed on with a commanding yet serene presence. "Once I held the reins of authority over 134 valiant souls in Bravo Company. Over half of them never returned home. When you have stood at the helm of battle, you cultivate a keen perception that distinguishes the guardian from the aggressor." The courtroom hung in a heavy silence, each breath held in anticipation. Even those who had once scoffed at his uniform now found themselves utterly captivated. The defense attorney inquired Commander Rowe, "What compelled you to step forward and share your testimony today?" With deliberate grace, Edward reached into the depths of his uniform pocket, his fingers brushing against the fabric as he carefully retrieved a photograph encased in its protective plastic sheath. Young Isaiah, merely 9 years of age, stands in a suit that swallows him whole, his small hands gripping the meticulously folded American flag with a gravity that belies his youth as he honors his father at the solemn military funeral. As the weight of the moment settled in a profound silence enveloped the courtroom, for Samuel Jefferson stood as the final soldier from my unit to fall in the harrowing shadows of Vietnam. The prosecutor's pen fell with a resounding clatter to the floor. On the fateful day of April 30th, 1975, Staff Sergeant Samuel Jefferson stood at the precipice of history, marking the end of an era, the final day of the war. Edward's voice flowed with unwavering calm, yet a muscle in his jaw betrayed a simmering tension. "We were orchestrating the evacuation of civilians in Saigon. In a heart-stopping moment, Samuel thrust me into the depths of a drainage ditch mere seconds before a grenade detonated precisely at the spot I had occupied. At long last, the stoic facade of Isaiah shattered, revealing a glimpse of emotion beneath. His eyes grew wide with disbelief. His lips parted, a silent gasp of disbelief escaping into the air. With unwavering resolve, Edward pressed on. As Samuel lay on the brink of death, the whirring of choppers slicing through the air, and the city crumbling around us, he made but one request of me: to watch over his son, a fragile life brought into the world merely 3 months prior, a child he had never laid eyes upon yet, whose images he had clutched tightly through the unforgiving jungle for 2 long years. For 49 long years, Edward had upheld that promise, always lingering at a respectful distance. He observed Isaiah's journey through the tapestry of school events, a silent sentinel in the shadows, seated in the back witnessing each moment unfold. In a remarkable act of kindness, he stepped forward in silence, covering Isaiah's college application fees when his mother, tirelessly juggling 2 jobs, found herself unable to bear the financial burden. Upon discovering that Isaiah faced dire straits, I felt compelled to step forward and testify, Edward declared. I summoned the loyalty of military contacts who still held the name of Bravo Company's commander in their hearts and minds. The judge, with a heavy heart, set aside his glasses, visibly affected by the moment. Have you truly been watching over this young man throughout the entirety of his life? Indeed, Your Honor, Edward responded with a sense of gravity. He remains oblivious to my existence. He has yet to lay eyes upon me. Yet I am well acquainted with him. I found myself in the back row a silent witness to the momentous occasion of his high school graduation. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am certain he possesses his father's unwavering moral courage, stepping in to defend the vulnerable undeterred by the peril that may await him. The prosecutor inquired, "If you have indeed been watching over him as you assert, why have you never confronted him directly until this very moment?" Edward responded with unwavering certainty, for a promise once made requires no acknowledgement to be honored. It simply requires reverence. Many jurors brushed away tears, their emotions laid bare. The courtroom was enveloped in a profound silence. The chief of police, nestled in the back row, momentarily shut his eyes as the weight of a grave error cascaded over his features, a storm of regret brewing within. With a flourish, the defense attorney unveiled the unedited body cam footage, a stark contrast to the carefully curated snippets the prosecution had chosen to present. The entire video vividly captured the moment Isaiah interposed himself between Officer Brennan and a frail, elderly homeless veteran clad in a tattered military jacket. "Sir, I implore you cease this at once," were Isaiah's precise words. "He offers no resistance. He is experiencing a seizure. Behold his medical bracelet." The footage captured Officer Brennan forcefully pushing Isaiah backward a moment that had been portrayed as an act of aggression in the manipulated version. Judge Douglas, with a deliberate pause, cleared his throat, the sound echoing in the hushed courtroom. "In the wake of this compelling evidence and poignant testimony, I hereby declare the immediate dismissal of all charges against Mr. Jefferson." As Edward descended from the witness stand, an extraordinary event unfolded before our very eyes. Not a single soul within the courtroom dared to take a seat. Neither the spectators, nor the court reporter, nor even the judge. They stood resolute, a wordless homage that resonated more profoundly than any ovation. As Isaiah was formally released, he turned to Edward, tears cascading down his cheeks like a river of emotion. "Did you truly know my father? Did you truly know him?" Edward inclined his head, the rigid facade of his military demeanor finally yielding to a hint of warmth. "He was the most valiant soul I have ever encountered." "Why did you keep this from me all these years?" Isaiah inquired, his voice trembling with emotion. "Some debts linger in the shadows forever unrepayable," Edward murmured with a weighty solemnity. "They may only be advanced into the future." Edward remained silent, offering no additional words. With a solemn bow of his head, he strode toward the door as though his monumental testimony had been nothing more than a mere obligation completed. In the solemn atmosphere of the courtroom, every individual stood in reverence, even the judge who had shed his robe as a mark of profound respect. Should you find yourself recalling a vow made to another, inscribe the word promise. On the morrow, a modest article graced the pages of the local newspaper, the man who commanded the attention of an entire courtroom, compelling them all to rise in unison. Though few ventured to read it, those who dared were compelled to cut it out and preserve it with fervor. Edward stepped back into his humble abode where the familiar cadence of his daily ritual awaited him. With meticulous care, he polished his boots, the leather gleaming under his touch. He raised the flag with a sense of pride, then ventured out to the park, gathering the litter that marred its beauty, each piece a testament to his unwavering commitment. His routine remained steadfast, unyielding to the tides of time. 3 days later, a hesitant knock echoed through the stillness of his door. Isaiah stood there, a box of donuts cradled in one hand and a steaming cup of coffee in the other, the aroma wafting through the air like a sweet promise. "I was at a loss for what else to bring," he confessed, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "May I enter your domain?" In the stark confines of Edward's living room, they lingered, enveloped by the haunting presence of photographs depicting young men in uniform eternally captured in their youth, forever suspended in time. At the heart of the shelf, a photograph captured the essence of Samuel Jefferson Isaiah's father, his broad smile radiating joy as he stood proudly beside Edward, both clad in jungle fatigues. "He resembles me perfectly," Isaiah murmured, his fingers caressing the glass with a tender touch. "He saved my life," Edward declared, with a weighty simplicity. "At last I have repaid the debt of kindness." Every Sunday afternoon, Isaiah made his grand entrance a ritual that soon became the highlight of the week. He began to address Edward as Father Edward, a title that ignited a rare glimmer of emotion in the old soldier's eyes. The neighborhood teenagers who once jeered at the eccentric old veteran fell silent as they beheld Isaiah, now a law student, striding alongside Edward, hanging on to every word with rapt attention. The local police chief, with a heavy heart, extended a personal apology to both men. Officer Brennan faced suspension only to find himself reassigned to the humbling role of community service at the Veterans Center. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, a palpable silence enveloped the morning air. It became evident to all that Edward had ceased to raise his flag at the break of dawn, precisely at 6:15 a.m. Worried neighbors discovered him serenely departed in the embrace of slumber, a cherished photograph of his former unit held tightly in his grasp. Upon reaching his apartment door, they stumbled upon a quaint wooden box, accompanied by a mysterious note. "I have always walked my path in solitude, shrouded in the mystery of my own existence, untouched by the gaze of others. I fervently wished that all would thrive, sparing them the burden of shame as they stood before a man cloaked in silence." Within the confines of the box lay his Purple Heart medal, a symbol of valor, alongside a handwritten will, addressed to Isaiah Jefferson, who rose to his feet just as your father had done in days gone by. Isaiah adorned the medal at Edward's funeral, where hundreds of veterans gathered, standing resolutely at attention for a full hour beside his flag-draped casket. Today, within the hallowed halls of the courthouse where justice unfolds its solemn duty, a modest bronze plaque proclaims, "Judge not by appearances, but by the measure of honor within." Every Veterans Day, the community witnesses a distinguished civil rights attorney poised beside a pristine grave, meticulously polishing a Purple Heart medal. He shares with his children the poignant tale of two men, a father he never had the chance to know, and the quiet guardian who bridged their lives through the passage of time. Do not cast your judgments upon individuals based solely on their attire. Rather, observe the profound impact they have on the atmosphere of an entire room upon their entrance. Edward Rowe shunned the allure of fame. He resolutely upheld a long-forgotten vow. That solitary gesture of unwavering loyalty rescued a young man from the suffocating weight of prejudice. In a realm teeming with clamor, there exist individuals like Edward who tread softly, yet command the reverence of society. True honor transcends the mere trappings of medals or uniforms. It revolves around the vows we uphold in the shadows when the world turns a blind eye. In the grand theater of existence, the most formidable witnesses are frequently those who utter the fewest words yet possess the keenest eyes to behold the unfolding drama around them. If you have ever encountered a soul like Edward, hold on to that memory fiercely, for it is often a single witness that has the power to rescue a life from the shadows of oblivion. True courage reveals itself not in sweeping actions, but in the steadfast commitment to return day after day, honoring the voices of those who can no longer advocate for themselves. Ultimately, the essence of our existence is not defined by our proclamations, but rather by the commitments we uphold, even when they become burdensome or fade from the memories of those around us.